Imagine starting out as a young, budding entrepreneur with hopes of becoming an all-natural soap maker to then pivot entirely once losing your sense of smell due to COVID to now becoming one of the most sought after open dental consultants in dentistry today. Well, that's a little bit of the story of my dear friend and colleague, Brittany Rogars, who shares about her entrepreneurial journey just a little bit, but we also dive into a lot of the topics around being an entrepreneur and starting your own business. I meet a ton of people in the industry that really want to pursue something bigger once they reach a certain level in their practices or executive teams at the DSO level. There's just kind of this yearning to do more, or maybe they're even working for an existing vendor or a supplier in the industry and they want to do something a little bit different. And I've been seeing that more and more as people are really desiring to find more meaning in their life and really be able to use more of their skill sets and talents in a way that makes a bigger difference and also brings them a lot more joy. And I thought Brittany would be a really awesome person to talk to about this because she has a really unique starter story and she does a lot of this work as well and really supporting people in her own personal development coaching and helping other people really design the life that they like. She's a mom of two. She's got an 8-person team, and she's now also hosting her second Open Dental Users event this year, which I was just blown away by last year. I thought it was so incredible for somebody to pull off what she did, and now she's doing it again. I always find her really funny, really inspiring, and she's just super open and honest about her journey. So we dive in a lot. And so for those of you that are seeking something bigger in life, this is a fun conversation to listen to because we both really pull back the curtain on some of the things that separate the fantasy from the reality of being a business owner inside dentistry, especially those of us that have taken the non-conventional path. And it's a lot about what I work on with other women in the industry too, and the empowered leadership experience for women in dental, where we really start to unpack what it is that you truly want in your life and how can you make it happen and how you can get there. And also in my traditional coaching work as well with courage and joy. Enjoy today's episode. Brittany Rogars, dear friend and colleague, welcome back to the Real Talk of Dental. We just had so much fun the first time around. I had to have you back on for round 2. And there's so much to talk about because you have been really busy getting ready for your second annual event, the Open Dental Users Workshop, which is going to be October 3rd. And I had an awesome time participating in it last year and excited to be back again this year. But what I think is so great and what I wanted to talk about too is you are an entrepreneur. Your getting started story was really inspiring for me and then also everyone that listened. But you pulled off this amazing in-person event last year, which when I showed up, I was like, how the hell is she doing this? I've been afraid to put together a retreat of like 10 women that I'm still like have on the back burner that I'm still trying to like manifest into the ethers. And here you are just, pulling off these huge events. And now you're going into your second one, which sounds like it's going to be even better than the first one because you've learned what you wanted to do and not do after last year. So talk to me. How is life as an entrepreneur? You're a mom, you have employees, you continue to grow, you're putting on this incredible event. And I think even last year after last event, you were like, I don't know if I can do this again. But then like a month later, you're like, and we're back at it. So how is life as an entrepreneur? What are you learning? What's cooking?
Yeah. So first and foremost, that is the running joke about the event is before it even happened, I was like, I will never do this again. And then you do it and you pull it off and you're like, this is the most amazing feeling ever. I'm so powerful. Like you just feel like you could take over the world.
Yeah.
So then I immediately decided I was going to do it again. And it's been a running joke in my family and amongst my friends about how like, if I ever say I'm not going to do something, don't believe me. So I think that's great that you brought that up. As far as how things are going great. I'm learning so much. I think that is one of the keys to success when it comes to entrepreneurship is even when you think you've got it all figured out, continue to learn new things because it's ever changing. And I know like right now is AI. So that's my big hyper focus. And that's what we're trying to learn more about and understand and all the things. But there's never a time where in this particular career path that I was crazy enough to select for myself that I will ever want to or be able to stop growing, because that's when you start falling behind. So learning all of the things all of the time is kind of how that's going.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to chat with you some more about it too, because as I continue to have more and more conversations with people in the industry and supporting a lot of women, as they're navigating their life path and where they find their purpose and their happiness, there's often conversation about wanting to start their own businesses and wanting to dive into coaching or consulting or create products or apps or, things like that. So many really intelligent people are out there seeing where there's opportunity or gaps or, breaks in the matrix or something like that, and where they can serve and show up and create and feel like they're contributing in a bigger way. And I've been having those conversations more and more with people. And you often come to mind too, because I always love your story and how you got started. And I also think a lot of people don't talk honestly about the behind the scenes of what it takes and how it goes and the grit that goes into it and the WTF moments and the fear and the scarcity and the ebbs and the flows and the comparisonitis and am I doing enough? Am I insane? Should I just throw it all in the bag and go back to a 9 to 5? Like just a lot. And I figured if there's anyone that's going to be really honest about, their journey, it would be you. And I think because this is real talk and because I want to normalize the tough stuff that people are saying behind the scenes so other people can feel less alone and a little more normal, I thought it'd be fun to talk about, some of those moments of riding this wave of entrepreneurship or being a business owner.
Yeah. So first, I want to, a second ago, you were like, they're asking themselves, am I insane? If you're an entrepreneur, yes. That's the answer to that question. Conversation over. We are a crazy fun bunch for sure.
Yeah. Go with the crazy.
Yes. Go with the crazy. And I think one of the best stories that I can share of like an UGG moment was when I first started SKF Practice Solutions. So first and foremost, just a little bit of lore. When I first started my own business back in 2019, it was a soap company. And like I really thought I was going to make natural soaps. And that was going to be the thing. And then I got COVID in 2020 and lost my sense of smell. And you can't make natural soaps if you can't smell them, unfortunately. So and it hasn't come back yet. So I made the smart decision to pivot. And so I think that is my first story that I can say is like UGG, because I started with a plan and that plan epically failed. Like my first business failed. That's the sound bite. That's the lesson is you have to be willing to be gritty. You have to be resilient. You have to be able to roll with the punches. You have to be able to pivot, because I can't think of anybody who has started their business and has been in it for any amount of time and still does it the same way that they did it on day one, right? And even once I pivoted into the dental space, which is where my day job was and like what brought me the most joy, I don't know why I thought I wanted to make soap. That sucked. It was not fun for anybody. But once we pivoted into this dental space in this community, there was a point in time about a year and a half in where I wanted to throw in the towel too, because I found that I was coming from a place of scarcity and I was taking every client and any client and they were nickeling and diming me over everything, and they were keeping me up all night and they were giving me headaches, and I was gaining weight and losing my hair, and it was a lot. And I was about to throw in the towel. And then I was like, if I'm going to throw in the towel anyways, why don't I first try this absolutely radical idea of just showing up exactly how I want to show up and telling those clients who are causing me stress to go away and just only working with people who are fun and showing up in a way that feels like me. Because what I had created originally was a job for myself, where instead of working a 9 to 5, I was working a 24/7 and I was chained to my desk, and I created a job that I hated more than the job that I left originally. Right. So I did my first intro call after that, like wake up call moment. And it's still crazy to me because I showed up in hot pink with the sparkled glasses and the Taylor Swift on, and they were like, you are the one that I want to work with. I had it so ingrained in my own head that dentistry is so conservative and everybody's so buttoned up and polished that if I show up like this, people will hate me. There was like a huge need for those type of people, right? Dentistry is not black and white. It's not one thing or the other. There's just like every other industry and every other place in the world, there's diversity inside the industry. And there were people who were looking for exactly what it was that I brought to the table. And it's why people choose to work with me. It's also why people choose not to work with me. And I'm perfectly fine with the people who choose not to work with me. And if you come on an intro call and we're not vibing, I'll refer you to somebody else because I'm not going to make my life bad to try to accommodate someone who there is a better fit. Like we're both going to have a better time if you go work with somebody else. So long-winded, as always, very on brand for me, but but I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, the crazy is definitely there. Like I read somewhere early on where there is a level of insanity that you sort of have to go through to believe that it's possible enough to do it and then to stick with it through it. And then there's also seasons where things are going really, really well and everything seems great. And then there's seasons where it's not, right? And where plans or ideas that you've had or hopeful situations or scenarios that you thought were going to come to fruition don't. And it's sort of like in that mucky space, and then having the wherewithal to keep going, but then also maybe even pivot a little bit too. I think that's where I like that you're talking about, the soap story, and then you made a massive pivot. But even in relation, like sometimes we go through these sheddings of identities and then life changes, right? Like I'm sure as your kids get older, like your priorities are going to shift of like how you want to show up in your day to day or what's really important to you. And I know you have your open dental consulting and coaching business, but then you also have your own personal coaching work as well for people. And I'm guessing that developed as you continued to develop and you saw like an opportunity to share more about that. So I think that's something for people to recognize too, because like for me, I thought, well, I'm committed. I can't change my mind. If I change my mind or if I pivot, it means I'm failing at whatever I originally said I was setting out to do, when the reality is like, no, you're just making a change or you're just pivoting. It doesn't mean, and you're recognizing there's another opportunity. It's not that you failed,
I agree. And I think part of that personal coaching side that you were talking about, our main core philosophy there is our pivot method, which is why like the fact that we keep using this word I find is really serendipitous. So when you want to become an entrepreneur, you have to be able to be somewhat fluid because the world that you're working in is changing, and entrepreneurship is personal development on steroids. You are going to change so much as you carry the heaviness. Like one day, like at one point in time, in a 7-day span, we lost 40% of our clients. They all gave their notice, all of my biggest clients. And I have a team of 8. Like, you have to learn how to deal with the ebbs and the flows and plan for the worst, but also be malleable enough to make changes when those things happen. Because if I had in that moment not been fluid enough to try and start to make some pivots and think maybe I'm being guided to do something a little bit different and that's why these people are leaving, we would have shut down. I'm not going to say that like we've got it all mapped out and we're the perfect company over here, because it's definitely not that. But if I hadn't taken the time to actually dig into our pivot method in that moment and realize that there's maybe a reason for this, we definitely still wouldn't be standing here today. That's for sure.
Yeah. What do you think is one of the biggest like gifts you've given yourself in your business, or something that's had the greatest impact on your entrepreneur journey?
Ooh, this might be one of the hardest questions I've ever been asked. I don't. There are so many things that come to mind when you say this. So for me to pick like one biggest gift, I am going
top 5.
I'll give you a few.
Okay.
I'd say when I think of what the biggest gift I give myself is, it is the ability to be more fluid in how I show up and how I do things. I think it's so when I worked a day job, I was told I'm never going to have the flexibility that I have at this job if I do anything else. I'm never going to have the paycheck that I have if I go anywhere else. Like all of these things are benefits that I get from this particular job that I have. And if I want to have that type of life, I have to stay there. And I believed that. And so then when I got into business, I kind of recreated that process like we were talking about earlier. And it wasn't until I'm in a really great mastermind group and they're so much smarter than me. And they were like, girl, no. So it wasn't until I gave myself the ability to be a little bit more fluid that I realized that that's kind of the whole point, right? So now I get to go to my kids' plays and their field day and their 37 dress up days each week where we have to dress like their favorite billionaire and Adam Sandler and their favorite Teletubby, like all of the things. I get to participate in those things and have fun with them because I've created a life that allows me to do it. The next piece of that I would say the best, like, what actually affords me the ability to be able to do that, so maybe this is the best gift I've ever given myself, is hiring the best team. We all complement each other so well. We are so different. We span in age from like 26 to 52. We've got girls and boys and every different religion under the sun and every different background and upbringing under the sun. And what is so cool about it is we highlight the areas like where I am weak, someone on my team is strong, and vice versa. We all highlight each other really well, so I can feel comfortable to go do the other thing and do some of the personal coaching and speak on the stages and do the things because I know that my clients are still getting the very best even when I'm not here. And if a client comes to us and maybe doesn't like my particular flavor of training, I have someone on my team who I can put in to work with them, and that will be the right person for them. So maybe that's the best gift I've ever given myself, was my hiring.
Yeah, so it sounds like building your team and then giving yourself permission to be yourself as well in that fluidity that you're talking about. Hey, I just want to pop in on today's episode and talk to you about this new GPT I wrote called Boundary Boss GPT. And it's for those moments where you've said yes to something and immediately felt that pit in your stomach, or maybe you've now written 5 drafts of an email because you're trying not to sound mean, even though you're exhausted and you swear you've said this thing so many times to the same person, or you're kind of sick and tired of staying late, taking it on, smoothing things over, and wonder why you're the one that's always burning out. A lot of the conversations that I have on this podcast, we often hear about people hitting these walls of burnout and oftentimes not even knowing what to say. So that's why I built Boundary Boss GPT. It's kind of like having me in your pocket when you're about to respond to a text, email, or team issue, and you just don't know what to say because your people-pleasing brain is completely hijacking you. This is going to help you have clarity, confidence, and self-respect without the guilt, over-explaining, or the drama. Go ahead and grab it in the show notes below. It's totally free, and you're going to love it. Okay, now back to this awesome conversation. In hiring your team, I think too, one of the things, and listen, I coach CEO folks, doctor owners of emerging groups and things like that. And even they struggle with this stuff too, the idea of what do I let go of and how do I show up as the visionary and the CEO? And I can imagine, because you're such a friendly humanist and you care so deeply about your team too, that you'd want to be friendly with everybody. Well, you obviously are friendly, but also like friends. You got to draw the line somewhere, I'm sure. And so being somebody that really built the business and, your heart and soul was into it, how has it been for you, like letting go? Like you're bringing in the team, and what have you really been able to let go of? And what are you now primarily focusing on for yourself and your business?
So I would say I'm still in recovery from being a micromanager, so I am not perfect at delegation and letting things go. So there is a little piece of that I'm every day have to work towards. But as far as delegation goes, I mean, yes, I am friendly with all of my team and we have to draw lines, but I'm also not friendly with all of my team sometimes. Like just yesterday, I had to get on a call and be like, I am so sorry. I have been the worst today. Please forgive me and let's move forward. So, I mean, all of the things to say that delegation is something that is like a muscle that for me, I have to continually practice and stretch. And we've built so many tools. One thing about me is before I got into entrepreneurship, I was a systems and operations coordinator for a dental practice. So creating systems, writing things down, documenting them, building out the exactly how to do it has always been my strong suit. So that is one of the areas where we really excel around here. So if they have a question and I'm not here to answer it, or I delegate something to them, they have the tools to go look it up themselves. And now with AI, we're able to put those systems into a searchable database for them. Like they're able to go look it up even when I'm not there. So that's been incredibly helpful with delegation. But I also really empower my team to make the wrong decision. Like no one will die. If you make the wrong choice, then that's a coaching moment and we can talk about how to make the right choice or what I would have done differently, because at the end of the day, like in a lot of cases, there isn't a right or a wrong. There's a way I would have done it and a way I wouldn't have done it. And I have to remind myself that just because it wasn't the same, we still got the result that we needed. Like nobody died. Everybody's okay. And then I also have to just remind myself that this is my business. This is my baby. It's my blood, sweat, and tears that went into it. Nobody else is ever going to work as hard, hustle as hard, or be as psychotic about it as me. And I am lucky enough, like my mom works for me. So like she's going to be almost as ride or die for the company as me because I'm hers. So my baby is a grandbaby business.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I've been blessed in that area where I do have people who genuinely care about the success of it, but I have to be okay with my team being able to deliver 80% of what I would be able to deliver sometimes. But in other areas, they're way better than me. So it's all about balance. And I think that also speaks to the type of people that we hire. That's why our core values are so important here, because it makes sure that we hire people who have the same like moral compass as me. And then from there, like we can train all of the other things and we can start to delegate the other things one small thing at a time. We have an SOP here for how to delegate. So like we have an actual system in place for how we're going to delegate tasks and what that's going to look like. And then like everything is documented here. So that also helps.
What advice would you have for people that are looking to start their own businesses? Like in hindsight, they always say hindsight is 2020. So again, I'm having all these conversations with folks that like want to have more purpose. And I'm going to add some of my own insight on this too, but it's tricky when people say, I want to make a bigger impact. I need to have my own business. Right? So one of the first things that I often say, and this is for anybody, I'm always like, watch what you sign up for. Because sometimes having your own business doesn't mean you're going to make the impact that you have in your head. There's fantasy and there's reality, and that's for everybody. All of us are really good at fantasizing of what something's going to look like. And we're kind of sold this bill of goods, right, by the internet and social media of this perception of what's really going on. And I've been around long enough to know that especially the people that are out there like, oh, look at me and this lifestyle that I've created for myself and all these things that I have and la-di-da-da-da. I'm like immediately bullshit. Fucking shit. Like so much bullshit. And like I see right through it, but a lot of people still buy into it. And it always like grates my nerves a little bit because I know that they're lying. They're lying to people and they're being dishonest. And, you know, we talk about values and things like that. That's something that's really important to me is, yeah, there's some amazing aspects of having your own business and stuff like that. And then there's also the downside. There's the upside and there's the downside to everything. So when people talk about wanting to have their own business, it's very much like, well, let's unpack that why. Like, what are you looking for? What do you hope for? What's the fantasy that you have around it? And then there's this idea too of like, you really need to fall in love with the suck first. I've talked about this in other episodes here, is you need to really be at peace with the shittiness of whatever decision you're making and pick what shittiness you can live with the most and then go that route. Don't get caught up in the glitz and the glam and the fantasy idea that you have of what that looks like. So if being an employee, if like the suck for you is that you have to be somewhere at exactly, 8:30 a.m. every day and you're, within this confines of these hours, And you have this fantasy that when you have your business, you will never think about work outside of when you choose to.
I can't even say it with a straight face. Sorry,
It's
keep
like,
going.
no, you will be in a perpetual time prison of your own making. So it's like you'll never stop thinking about work when you have your own business. However, what you're thinking about is slightly different. So it's like, can you choose that? Or do you want to choose, like my husband? He's done. When at the end of his day, he is done for the day, and he's got his hobbies, he's got this life outside of work. Like, he loves it. He loves clocking out, being done. Work stays at work, home is at home. This goes with me wherever I go. Work is on the brain 24/7. Like, and just the way I am, learner's my top trait on the Clifton Strengths, but I can look at freaking anything and I'm like, how does this apply to business? How does this apply to work? Is this good content
That's the
for the
blog post.
socials?
Yep.
I'm always like putting, like, so he can just go
Mhm.
and enjoy a concert. Like, I couldn't even watch the New York Knicks crush it, winning the NBA finals without thinking of like, oh, what are all the lessons here in leadership? Like, I'm a walked in
Mhm.
LinkedIn annoying algorithm in my head 24/7. So stuff like that, for example, right?
Mhm.
And okay, so I answered my side of the question that I'm asking you, but what would you tell someone? What would be some of the initial questions you would say of like, oh, I think I want to start my own business?
So first and foremost, I always feel bad when I'm on a podcast, but like I want to have a notepad and just be taking notes about all the things because you said so many good. I can't wait to listen back to this because there's so many good things in there. Okay, so first side quest. I was in New York while the Knicks chaos was happening, not the finals game, but it was so. I was even talking today because I was talking to that client who I was just in with New York. Like, I'm so sad that it's over because the just sheer amount of joy that I got to experience from that.
Yeah.
I don't know the first thing about sports ball, my friend, but I know that I loved social media for a few weeks there because it was so fun. But I digress. I had to talk about it because it was
Yes.
just so
Thank
much
you.
fun. I'm so sad to
Yeah.
see it gone. And then I also want to jump back into the social media thing where like it's all kind of a lie. Like at that time, what I was just talking about, where we lost 40% of our clients, I'm like posting like I am Taylor Swift on the internet. Like this is all the things because I'm trying to convince myself. Like I'm not posting that everything is great to convince you. I'm trying to remind myself that everything is great. Like I'm lying to my own self to try and push me through it. So I totally can see where that specific lane comes from because it wasn't sunshine and daisies. It wasn't great. Even now, like I'm posting posts today, but like there are still things like it's not perfect around here either. And I'm still like, here's the life that I live because I do love it. It sucks sometimes, but I love it. All of this to say, if you were to come to me tomorrow and be like, hey, I'm thinking of starting my own business, I would absolutely agree that I need to let you know that like this becomes your hobby as well. So when other people plug out and do their hobbies, like I have to actually get a second laptop because my kids see this one that I'm on right now and they think work. And I'm like, no, I'm taking a course on how to use Canva better, or I'm like building this cool new AI app, or I'm doing like I'm learning all of these things because it's become my hobby. This is what I do for fun. If I'm not working, I'm working, but like not really. So I have to get a new laptop that's like a different color or something. So when my kids see the other one come up, they're like, Mom, why are you working? Leave me alone. That's why.
I can't
But it
stop.
does, yeah, it does become this thing where like you can't, everything you do becomes somehow tied back into your business. So that's like precaution number one. It is you trade your 9 to 5 for a 24/7. That just is what it is. If you don't hate the idea of that, then this might be for you. Like that's not the slogan that I would give it or anything, but like the reality of it that people don't talk about enough is even if you only work 3 hours a day where you're actually at your computer and you're just living this digital nomad life and you're working from wherever, you're still thinking about it. Don't tell me you're not. I don't believe you. So there's that. And then the other thing that I see happen a lot with new businesses and the businesses that maybe don't do so well is a scarcity mindset. I think one of the most important things that I did when I first started my own business was joining Do. I got out of it and now I'm back into it, but like joining Do because I got on a call with so many people who have businesses in the same area as me and in different areas of me, and they were so generous with their time. Because I know, like, we work in dentistry, guys. There's a dentist on every corner. What makes you different is what's going to make you successful. And if you're not willing to share the resources, the knowledge, the things that you have, people are going to feel that from you and they're going to get the ick. And that's people that you could be collaborating with. That's people that could be teaching you what they have done wrong. That's people who could be sending you clients when their schedule is full. Like all of these opportunities, you're shutting down by having that scarcity mindset. The number one thing that I did to grow my business from jump was I got on a Facebook group about open dental, and I gave away I answered every question. I will give you every piece of information you want to know for free. I did it for years. So now when you go in that Facebook group and you search any question, you're going to see my name and you're going to see my face. And then all of those people wanted to work with me because they're like, hey, she actually cares about our well-being. And you're damn right I do. And that's why I'm happy to give you information for free, because if you don't hire me, I don't want you to fail. If you hire somebody else, I don't want you to fail. I'm still going to give what I have to give, because the impact is what's important to me, and it's going to be bigger if I give a little something. I'm not working 14 hours for someone who's not paying me. But if it's like, how do I break an appointment? I don't need to be at my computer or write an SOP or give you a video to answer that question. It takes zero time, and it makes such a big impact for everyone, not just the person who posted that question. So that would be the feedback that I would give is, one, you have to be a little bit insane, and two, your light does not dim anyone else's. Like somebody else's light does not dim yours at all. No scarcity mindset around here.
Yeah. I appreciate that too, the generosity. And I think you said a couple things in there too that are really important to highlight, which is get yourself around people that are going to support you and lift you up. I think that's really important too, because especially if you're around people that have doubts of whether or not you're going to be successful, because for me, like we all know that doubt is already there, right? Yep. So the seed is there, that voice is there, some have it louder than others. And then if you're around people that are constantly feeding that voice, it's going to kind of psych you out or get you in that headspace where you're just going to want to throw in the towel. So I had to be very, very protective of my community and like who I was sharing with and what I was sharing with them. I really had to learn how to practice discretion and really share in very select audiences, because I knew that if things were still kind of in the incubator, or it was like a really audacious dream of mine that I was kind of protective about and insecure about, and sometimes it means not sharing with the people closest to you, because people close to you often want you to be safe. They don't want you to be super risky, and they want you to be protected. So they might try to kill it off for you with having some good intentions, but they'll also feed that doubt. So getting yourself around people that will lift you up, move you forward, help you take the next step, and things like that, I think are really, really important. And I really like a lot what Jalen Brunson, the MVP of the New York Knicks for this NBA series, what he has been saying over and over again. And if anyone has followed Jalen Brunson, like a lot of the people in the NBA and a lot of the analysts and things like that thought the Knicks made a terrible decision bringing him on and thought he was not that great of a player and like a mediocre point guard. And he was really, really discounted a lot in the beginning. And people just thought it was a terrible move by the Knicks to bring him on. And that there's like repeated footage of people saying he will never take him to a championship. He's not a franchise player. He's this, he's that. And everyone dogged on this guy constantly. And here he is now, MVP of NBA championship team, and he scored 45 points in the final game. And he's one of a handful of players that have ever done that. And he broke all these records and stuff. And when he's asked about this, he says, and when he was met with a lot of adversity throughout the playoffs, he said, all I kept going back to was just remembering the work that I put in, and how many hours I spent in the gym, and how much time I spent practicing, and how much, like and I always say it's built in the reps, right? It's chipping away. So it's like, yeah, the championship is kind of this ideal, but the real work happens in the day-to-day and the nuance and putting in the reps and showing up every day and doing the practice. And so I think that's part of the fantasy versus reality too, right? Like you can have the fantasy of writing a book or being on big stages or having big retreats or having the events like you've been doing, right? You can have these visions of what you want, and you got to focus on what you need to do every single day in order to get there. And then eventually you get there, and then you're like, oh my God, it happened, right? And so I think that's really cool. And then getting yourself around the people that are going to help you take the proper steps like every day to get it done.
So when my daughter first started gymnastics, one of the older girls, the first piece of advice they gave her was you have to learn to love the fall because that's part of the process. And like, I want to get that tattooed somewhere. I'm running out of space though, but like, I love it so much because it's such a great lesson for everything. If you're expecting to go into something and be good at it right away, especially entrepreneurship, this isn't for you. You have to learn to love every bad thing that's going to happen because you have to understand that you're going to learn something really cool from it. And then you're going to be able to do better next time. So I think that is super powerful and kind of has been the theme of what we've been talking about through this whole thing. And then as far as like the people you surround yourself with, really super quick, want to take you through what the pivot method is because outreach is the O of that. So P is to process. So, okay, shit hits the fan, right? What are we going to do? This is where you have to pivot. So you're going to process. You're going to start by giving yourself a set time period because too many people will wallow for way too long. So you are going to give yourself a reasonable amount of time to process all of the shit. You're going to you're going to eat soup out of a cute cup. You're going to wear your favorite pajama pants. You're going to cry. You're going to eat chocolate, whatever it takes for you to feel better and to cope in a healthy way with a time limit. Then we're going to learn how to plug in and trust our intuition. So we are going to stop listening to our anxiety and start listening to our intuition because there is a difference. You need to learn to decipher what is heart, what is gut, what is head. We have to actually tune into our actual body and learn what is trying to tell us. V is for validation, which does not mean validation from my friend Brandi or my mom or my coach. It's internal validation and learning to accept who you are as a human being and that you are enough no matter what happens at the end of the day, no matter what decision you make. O is outreach. So that is surrounding yourself with those people. So that is why to me, the human element of it is so important because there's a cliche about you are the 5 people you spend your most time with. That's a cliche for a reason. You absolutely are. And a lot of times the people who are giving you the negative feedback are people whose opinion, like you would never want to model your life after that person anyway. So why are we letting their opinion be the thing that stops us? Like we're not afraid to necessarily fail. We're afraid to fail publicly and have those people's opinions drag us down. So surround yourself with a core group of people who are going to lift you up in every way that they can when stuff is bad, when stuff is good, and call you on your bullshit when you're wrong. And then T is tenacity. So not giving up on your own self. You need to be stubborn as hell if you want to make it in entrepreneurship because there's going to be a million reasons to quit. Sometimes it's not quitting, it's pivoting. And we need to make sure that we're able to make those distinctions and not give up on ourselves because it gets a little hard. So I feel like that kind of walks through the whole process of everything that I would do as an entrepreneur and what I have done so far as an entrepreneur to kind of guide me through the way.
Woo! Love it. Thank you. That is like the cherry on top of everything.
Mic drop.
Yeah, mic drop. That's awesome. I'm so glad you shared that too, because I was going to ask you and then I was like, oh, maybe that's special. But yeah, I should know. You give everything away. So that's awesome. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Brittany, you're awesome. You are such a wealth of knowledge and an inspiration to so many. And I'm super excited to be seeing you in October, which, hard to believe it's really not that far away, for another epic event where I'm sure it's going to be even better than last year. More attendees, awesome sponsors, anyone out there that's wanting to learn about being an open dental user, and also with a whole lot of fun and some pink, I'm sure will be there as well. So,
and if anybody listening wants to join us, you can use the code Brandi at checkout and get 20% off. So we'll hook all of our real people up and yeah, come ready to have fun. Even if you're not an open dental software user, we brought in great names, great people like Brandi who don't teach about open dental, but they teach you skills that are relevant. We're going to learn about the software. And then we need to learn how to mentally deal with all of the things that we're going to be doing when we get back to the office. We brought in people who can speak to all different elements, not just open dental software. So that way we can leave well-rounded and ready to go on Monday.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. It's always awesome. You just listened to the real talk of dental. If it hit, if it stung, if it made you feel just a little more human, good. That's the point. This isn't about fixing practices. It's about healing people. And if you're brave enough to show up real in this industry, you're my kind of leader. Subscribe, call in, send your wildest workplace confession. And most importantly, don't clean up for anyone. The mess, that's where the magic lives. We'll see you again on the next episode.